Hey, thank you all for coming. You know, it's so nice and reaffirming to see so many people turn out for what I think is just a stellar show. We put on a lot of exhibitions here, and the ANJE holds a very dear spot in my heart every year because that's how we launched the museum in 2017. And we've had some great jurors. I'm working in their shadow because it's quite a lineup, from Alyssa Monks to Frank Bernarducci, Margaret Boland, John Dalton from Ireland. It's been phenomenal, and now you guys got stuck with me. So, and I'm just, I'm mean. It was an interesting submission process, and I apologize. Our webmaster, for the life of him, couldn't figure out what the cross the wires was with the form. For some reason, it worked flawlessly for some people, and for other people, it didn't. That was kind of a nightmare. But anyway, I apologize if it adversely affected anyone, and you're still going through therapy for that. But anyway, we'll find a way to move on. So this is the biggest ANJE, and I look at it after Beau and Kara. Beau and Kara, thank you so much for all of your work. Thank you. Beau and Kara are the backbone of this museum, and they cannot possibly get enough credit for what they do. And honestly, I don't know what I'd do without either of you here. So anyway. I must have been in a really good mood the day that I had to decide what comes in here. Not because people are here that shouldn't be here, but the amount of work that I accepted. Not only did people enter work, but they entered multiples of just excellent work. And so that's why a lot of you have multiple pieces here. I couldn't take one without taking the other and the other, and I figured I'll figure it all out later. Well, then Beau and Kara unboxed all this when I come in to do my job. Holy crap, Marie! You know, it was like, what am I going to do with all this work? I was thinking, okay, do I hang this salon style so that I can fit all of it? But as I start working pieces, and anybody who's hung a show before, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm the village idiot, but I have this weird way of, like, I start seeing things and I move things around like a Chinese number puzzle, and things just start to happen from room to room, that this one goes over here, now this one has to come over here, that has to face that way, that's got to be purple, that's orange, that's, you know, and it all starts to work out. And then I'm looking at it, and all the pieces are resting along the floor, and I'm thinking, well, this kind of makes sense. It did to me anyway. And it turned out really well. And I hope you all have enjoyed it as much as I had putting it together. So, you know, this is the one show every year that we put out there, we offer for anybody and everybody in any medium to submit to. Because we are primarily contemporary figurative realism focused. We're one of two in the world, two museums in the world that are, that's what we stand for. We believe in it. And the other one is the MIM, Barcelona, the Museum Europa Art Modern. You'll see a lot of the same artists there as we show here. You know, the one thing about figurative realism is it's inexhaustible, and there's always different avenues that artists are exploring. And when you think originality can't exist anymore, then a new movement like disruptive realism starts, and you know, these artists are all feeling and reacting and responding to the same thing, even though one lives in New York and the other one lives in San Francisco, and they've never met, but they're producing similar type responses. So, you know, if you haven't seen that movement, and I think a lot of it, I shouldn't say a lot of it, but I would attribute that fact to a painter that maybe you've never heard of her, but Jenny Saville. And she's a phenomenal contemporary figurative painter that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of who she is or what she does or how she paints. But she's influenced so many painters with the way she attacks and problem solves and applies medium. And you know, so from that, there are people like Alyssa Monks in Brooklyn. There's Ann Gale in San Francisco. If you don't know who Ann Gale is, look her up. Dolby Chadwick Gallery represents her in San Francisco. Alex Konevsky, he's represented by the Stanek Gallery. Correct me if I'm wrong, is that in Philadelphia? Yeah. They're kind of the forerunners of this this movement, disruptive realism. It's exciting, and I keep watching to see where it's going to go and how many other people will, maybe even after experiencing their work, it will ignite something in them. But realism, and especially figurative realism, never dies. There's a roller coaster throughout art history that, you know, other things distract people for a while, and it's like, wow, that's really, you know, but we always come back to our roots and just who we are. And you can't help but, you know, look in the mirror and sometimes dig deep. I want to dig deeper. So anyway, that's where we usually are. But that doesn't mean there's a great work happening out there that's not figurative realism, and that's why we do the ANJE. And the ANJE is more about wanting to see everything that's out there. We've had performance art here, we've had conceptual art pieces. You know, we want to see more of that, and I want to share that with my community. And it's kind of a neat thing that a figurative museum would show that, because that kind of like sets something off in people like, oh, I thought that place was, it gets a little bit more attention because it's not the norm here. So, I don't know if that works or not. It does in my mind, so that's really all that matters. So anyway, again, thank you all for being here, and I know that there are so many artists from all over the place that came in. Juried from Ohio is here with her husband. I'd like to go around the room and take 1 minute. Okay. Judy does these beautiful works, and she's been a champion in the movement of bringing women up in the art world. It's really not much different than the corporate world, where women should be paid fair wages for what they do. There are so many brilliant female painters out there, but in the art world, it works against you until people like Judy, people like Stephen Allen Bennett and his wife Elaine Melody Schmidt, they have dedicated their lives and their collection to empowering women in the art world. And as a matter of fact, they just donated $11 million in Michigan. To the Muskegon, Michigan Art Museum for a new wing that's dedicated to female painters. So anyway, it's getting real out there, folks. But anyway, Judy, Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for, for being here. And thank you for accepting, I believe all my paintings that you accepted are from the Goddess Project, which is where it's a long-term series that I've been doing where I look at the mythology of all the religions through a contemporary feminist lens. And I rewrite and reimagine characters that because there's a lot of stereotypes that have filtered into our culture that we take as foregone conclusions, and I want to question them and flip them. So I've got, this one is the burden of Talia, Talia was one of the muses. She was the muse of cheerfulness, and the muses were all women, and the people that they inspired were all men. And the muses never get the credit. It's like the men, the important thing is that Homer wrote this thing, and it doesn't matter who the muse was that inspired him. And so it's kind of things like that. I've got more religious questioning out there. My painting that's called Matthew 5:4:4, the Holy Grail, has, I don't need to go into it all, but it's gotten me in trouble in other places in Ohio. And I actually renamed the painting Matthew 5:4:4, and since I've renamed it Matthew 5:4:4, it's gotten better press. And for those of you that don't know, Matthew 5:4:4 is, and I had to Google this, that's the one about loving your enemy. And it's God and the devil as depicted as old women, old friends that get together, and loving your enemy, that's the Holy Grail, and you just got the Holy Grail tip. So it's that kind of thing that's the focus of my art practice. So
Beautiful. Thank you. Denise?
Well, my pieces are these blatant abstract pieces. There's one back there.
And let everybody know where you're from. Denise
I'm
Presnell.
from Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Exciting place. And then there's one back in the back room back there too. For years and years I did sort of impressionistic landscape in decades. And I'd always felt pretty safe, sold pretty well, that kind of thing, but the whole time, even actually going all the way back to undergraduate school, I'm from Nebraska originally, I tried to go abstract, and my printmaking instructor said, I don't think that's for you. And so, okay, it's like, I listened to it a little too hard. But about 8 or 9 years ago, I was still doing landscape, but it became more abstract. Just pushed the boundaries further and further. And then finally, about 2018, I think it was, I just went full force into abstraction. And the thing that I like about it is that I feel more attached to it emotionally than I did my landscapes, and that's worth it to me.
So it keeps you more engaged.
Oh, totally engaged, yeah.
And it helps. All of the abstract works that came in actually helped me do my job here for my community, in that I can explain when I give tours. 95% of the general public thinks that the more real you can paint someone or something, the better you are as a painter,
sure.
Which we all know as painters is not the case. It's an aesthetic decision that we make. What our style is, what we decide to paint, how we decide to paint it. So working with abstract work, I can explain to, especially my younger people that come in, like bus tours for high school students, where I can explain there's absolutely no difference between Denise Presnell's work and Judy Tackick's work. They're both phenomenal painters. One is non-representational, the other is representational. Once you start to understand that composition, color, the science of color, idea, all of these things go into it, each piece, it opens up a whole new world for people to once they start to get that. Because really, most people, 95% of the general public, doesn't really know what good painting is. It's easy to like a literal piece because they think they understand what it is, but they're only usually scratching the surface, the very surface. yes, that's a woman with a French horn and a mask, but they're not looking at everything that's involved, okay? That's more difficult. So this is evoking an emotional, intellectual, and comfortable reaction for me. This is purely emotional, intellectual. I don't have to understand it to be able to respond.
I don't even understand.
Yeah. You know, and I can, so, but that, for some reason people feel like they need some type of connection like that. It's really, it isn't until you really start diving into understanding more and more about what painting is that you start getting that. And boy, your life becomes a very rich place to swim around in.
Right.
You know, I know that there are several painters out there that I communicate with regularly that are phenomenal painters that, you know, we talk about going back to the abstract school, the abstract expressionist New York school. And I used to love, up until about 10 years ago, one of my favorite painters was Mark Rothko, but for about the last 10 years, I love Clifford Stills. Like, I actually have dreams of painting like Clifford Stills, and they're so real. And then I wake up. So anyway, but it's, you know, I'm always excited to share that type of understanding of painting with people that walk through the door in my community, in hopes that that will take them one step closer, you know, to wanting more. And so, thank you for being here.
Christine Hendricks from Milwaukee. My pieces
Yes.
are all together, actually. They're the silk panels in the other room, and they are photographs. My photography has been generally urban. I love the city. And most of my regular photos are, I would describe them as like a funhouse mirror. The elements of the city really kind of reflect and are reflected on each other. And so the work on the silk panels kind of is an extension of that. And they are, I print them myself. I've designed the process. I don't know, I never saw anybody who did it. And, but I really enjoy the way that people respond to them. And I respond to them because it almost, you know, a photograph and a painting is taking a three-dimensional image and putting it on a two-dimensional surface. And the silk kind of re-dimensions it, you know,
Yeah.
puts it into a different dimension. And
They're beautiful.
and I love them. And I bet it took me 8 months to figure out how to do it.
Oh, I'm glad you did. Yeah, it was actually, you know, it looked daunting when I saw them, like, but then it was pretty darn easy to assemble and put together.
Well, and silk is
Thank you for that.
really, silk, you know, when you look at it, I mean, silk is a very durable material. The outer panels are silk organza, the inner panel is a heavier silk. But if you think about it, silk is a living kind of organic material, and so that's also part of it.
Now, refresh my memory. We've had one of your works previous here.
Not here. I had two works at the exhibit tour
Last year.
And I won a prize.
Yes,
but it
that's
was
where I recognized you.
I did.
Yes.
I'm
was
so
when-
surprised I cried.
That was, Alyssa Monks was the jury
Yes,
for that.
but
yeah.
it was the same kind of concept. I
Yeah.
think it was the Imagine.
I remember now, yeah.
It was through a window with a reflection in the background, and there's all kinds of goofy.
So that was kind of the precursor to...
Yeah, and I really wanted to find a way to present my work differently,
Yeah.
because some people don't appreciate photography for what it is. And
Yeah.
this just does a little bit different way to do it.
Beautiful. Leonardo.